This channel is not affiliated to any government agency. Information given herewith is based on research only.
Ma'am Dumlao, ano ba yung 83 billion daw na kinwestiyon ni Senator Drilon and called it almost criminal na hindi nyo pa raw nagagamit sa panahon ng pandemya lalo na at magtatapos na ang taon? Ano nga po ba yung 83 billion na yun?
Ang 83 billion pesos na nabanggit po during the Senate budget hearing of the department refers to the funds allocated or earmarked or programmed to the different programs and services of the department. In fact, 75 billion pesos of that ay indicated po in the General Appropriations Act. To be very specific about it, we have more than 48 billion pesos intended for the Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program. This covers po the education and health grants of our beneficiaries, including program and operational costs. So kung matatandaan po natin, for the 4Ps, periodic po yung ating pagbibigay ng cash grants. So hindi po natin yan ibibigay at one time sa ating mga beneficiaries. For August and September, they're supposed to receive it this month. But if you could recall, wala pong pasok ng August and September. So what the department did was to request for realignment of more than 7 billion pesos that actually covers the educational cash grants of our beneficiaries for the months I mentioned. And for the rest naman po, for the rest of the months of this year, merong intended talaga dyan for our program beneficiaries.
So 7 billion lang ang ni-realign. Bakit hindi pwede i-realign yung, kasi you said 48 billion yung pangpantawid fees. So what about the balance of the 75 billion?
Yes. The remaining funds are also earmarked for other programs and services of the department. In fact, more than 3 billion is allocated or allotted for the social pension for indigent senior citizens. Dahil ang SOCPEN po, per semester ang pagbibigay natin ng pensyon. So for the remaining second half of this year, meron pong naka-allot po for that program. Likewise, we have allotted more than 2 billion for the Sustainable Livelihood Program, more than 2 billion also for the supplementary feeding program for children. We also have allotted more than 13 billion pesos for the assistance to individuals in crisis situation. And then, why cannot we realign po itong 75 billion pesos? This is because naka-indicate po yan dun sa ating General Appropriations Act that there's an intended purpose, there's intended beneficiaries for this. If we have to realign it for another purpose, we have to request approval from the Department of Budget and Management.
Ma'am Bon, ano muna, clarification lang, bottom line lang muna. No? We understand what you mean, komplikado to. But you mentioned 7 billion, you mentioned 4, you mentioned 2, the biggest tranche we heard is 13 billion. Bottom line, we're only 5 weeks away from the end of the year. The bottom line is of the 83 or the 75 billion, magkano po ang hindi natin ma-release?
The DSWD commits po to fully utilize the funds. That is why nga po we are expediting the processes. Especially for Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program dahil nga po nag-declare naman na nag-state of calamity for the whole of Luzon. So what we could do as part of the mechanisms naman po, or part of the processes ng program is to declare force majeure wherein the conditionalities of the program are waived and then the cash grants will be released na po to the beneficiaries sans compliance to the conditions of the program. So that's one of the things that we can do. Likewise, we have also requested po from the Commission on Audit yung pong pagdagdag ng aming mga special disbursing officers para po makatulong in the distribution of the social pension, likewise in the assistance to individuals in crisis situation. So if we have more SDOs, mas marami po yung bababa sa ground and who will be doing the payout activities.
Ma'am, I apologize po. I didn't quite get the reason kung bakit hindi po na-disburse yung 48 billion pesos dun sa PTPs. kasi that's a pretty big amount. That's almost a third of your entire budget for 2020, 163 billion. Could you run us through that again? Bakit po hindi ho na ilabas yung 48 billion?
Okay, that is because periodic po yung aming pagbibigay ng cash grants to our beneficiaries. So kung ang mga bata ay minomonitor natin for their compliance to educational conditions ng August and September, ang kanilang cash grants will be received the succeeding month po after monitoring their compliance. Likewise, so August, September, then October, November, we will monitor their compliance, and then we will have to generate the payroll based on our monitoring tools, and then we will have to release their cash grants the succeeding month. So ganun po yung process kasi that's the design of the program. So
does it mean na may ma-free up na pondo na pwede nyo ngayon gamitin sa mga binagyo, dun sa mga kailangang relief efforts? Kasi kumbaga hindi nyo na nagamit yung August and September, tama ba? Dahil walang pasok nun.
Yes,
How does that work, di ba?
Tama po yun, ma'am.
Yes. So ano gagawin nyo dun sa unused fund?
Yes. For the educational grants ng August and September, we already requested for realignment of that 7 billion plus for educational assistance under the Assistance to Individuals in Crisis Situation. Now, para naman doon sa ating disaster relief operations, as I've earlier mentioned, we have a separate fund for that, and that we are requesting naman the DBM for the replenishment of our quick response funds para po talagang tuloy-tuloy yung ating pagbibigay ng tulong para sa mga naging biktima ng bagyo. And I would just like to mention that as of this evening's report, more than 90 million pesos worth of assistance has been distributed already by the Department of Social Welfare and Development to the regions I've earlier mentioned, and these are the ones most affected by the series of typhoons.
Ma'am, medyo malaki-laki nga yung, as they mentioned already, medyo malaki-laki ang matitirang pondo eh. What happens dun sa at the end of the year? Anong mangyayari kung malaki sa pondong matitira for the pandemic response? Babalik na siya sa National Treasury, ganun ba yun?
Yes. Kung ito po, kung meron pong savings, hindi po natin ma-expend, then we will have to revert the fund to the general, to the Bureau of Treasury.
Parang sayang naman yun, ano, hindi nagamit. Ganun ba kahaba talaga yung alignment process? Na lalo na in an emergency situation such as we have had, no? Can the process be faster so that you can realign nga funds that you will likely not be able to use up anymore for the rest of the year? Diba?
Yes. Kaya nga po nang nabanggit ko, no, may naset rin po kasi na deadline ng Department of Budget and Management for the submission of requests for realignment of funds. And so far, isa nga po yung cash grants, educational cash grants ng 4 Ps for the months of August and September na rin-request natin for realignment. But as we have earlier mentioned, ito pong pondo ng DSWD ay may intended purpose, meron na pong identified beneficiaries. So we're just expediting the release of the assistance to them just so that they could really receive it before the year ends.